Okay, this is my idea for how you recreate the Capitol. You move the Capitol from Washington D.C. to Nebraska.
Colorado Springs.
No, Nebraska to the western part of
Colorado
Nebraska.
Springs would be more popular.
Nebraska has not much of an economy beyond farming, so it could use that.
It's too
Plus,
boring in Nebraska.
that's the idea. You want a board. Plus, it leaves room for expansion.
But you want
a lot of flat, open area for expansion.
You want some diversions for your people there.
Well, the diversions are going to come because it's good. The capital, city is going to become, a mecca for a population. Now, this is what you do: you move the White House, Congress, the Justice, and if possible, the Pentagon, or at least like a representative for the military, into a sort of oval-shaped track. And the idea is that this track is purposely made for protesters. Whenever people wish to march, wish to protest, this is the track which will take them around the Capitol buildings, and in front of the White House. And the other thing is that that's like an oval shape, but the rest of the city is built in a circle pattern, and you have the White House and whatever buildings you want, but basically you're going to have a community of retired personnel. It's going to be several different communities, but it's going to be ideally all the veterans who are injured, who can't take care of themselves, and they're going to need Medicare for the rest of their lives. They get to live in this community. So veterans and also people who they qualify, for like medical aid. They basically can't take care of themselves.
Putting a cigarette out in his belly.
You really? But you understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
The community is made up of veterans. The idea is this: all the politicians who go there, because the politicians can live in the community as well. So the politicians are going to live in the community. Their support staff is going to live in this community, and the people who are going to run the community are going to live in this community. All right. So the service personnel, they're going to be part of this community. But basically, because you have all these people who are disabled, can't work, they're veterans, they're going to have spouses, and the spouses, that's your temporary workforce, because it's a bunch of old, it's going to be a bunch of women, and if the women went to work, they're going to work, and it's just that's a good temporary labor force you're going to activate it to, and it's a capable labor force too, because all military wives, they almost always get secretarial jobs of some sort, so they know how to run an office, or work in an office. Now, that is the community. That is the idea. Now, as the community grows, and you're going to have the White House section is going to be more of the residential side of it, but then everything else is going to be commercial and to industrial. Hopefully, ideally, it's like that's what you're going to want the whole layout of the city going to be. It's going to be part of Nebraska still. But there will be just the small community, the small number of people who are federal.
Yeah, we're in Nebraska.
Western Nebraska. Western Nebraska, like south of the 80. You just find an open, empty place that there's just nobody there, but it's good, stable land, and weather-wise it's decent.
There's a lake in Nebraska.
And yeah, you just and it's farmland or it's just whatever tenable land. Just go for it. Just buy it. But ideally, the key point of moving to Nebraska is that anybody can, it's a lot closer for people to journey to for protests. Mm-hmm. I mean, because I think this is something that needs to be realized is that you don't want to discourage protests. Protests should be allowed and should be in some way encouraged. And this is a neat way to encourage it because it's a protest ring. It's a way of a massive amount of people can walk. So it could just be a walk, a city walk. Mm-hmm. And
it's kind of what the mall's for in D.C.
Yeah. But that's it. But you can imagine that it's a bunch of people, and it's conceivable that the protesters themselves could decide if they want to protest in such a way that they disrupt the business of government, or they don't want to. So, you can have certain walkways that they can walk across open traffic, and other walkways where they don't walk across open traffic. Because the other idea about a protest is that it is meant to be inconvenient. Because the inconvenience is supposed to make you stop and realize, hey, there's a group of people who really oppose this thing. And, it's kind of a catch-22 because it prevents government from working. But ideally, isn't that the best place? Isn't that the best way? Hey, government, we don't like what's going on. And you basically put enough people in the streets to disrupt government. Government can't run anymore. So, and it doesn't matter who is disrupted. Somebody else could be disrupted because of the protests, and you're not. But they're going to say, hey, you know what? You need to clean this up. You need to clean your act up because this is, this is affecting my ability to run to run the government. You need to, you need to take care of your issue. And so it's pressure. It's group pressure, in a sense, because then you're pressured from both outside and within. So that's another reason, why you'd want that. But the other thing to realize is that, who are some of the most truthful people in the world? Veterans.
Why?
Because they served in the military, and they've given to the military. They've sacrificed to the military. So it's in their best mind to basically say what's on their mind and to be truthful about it and to be honest. And in some cases, they're just they're delusional because of the mental handicaps and other stuff that's going on. But there are a lot of veterans who like John McCain is a veteran, a tortured POW veteran, and he's a senator. He's running for president. He's a capable guy. There are veterans like that. Imagine that those are your neighbors. You are working in the government, or you're a politician in the government, and you move into a community where all your neighbors are veterans. And if they're not veterans, if the population of veterans shrinks, then the housing is replaced by poor, low-income, jobless families. The poorest of the nation are given housing as a sort of it's a kind of a grant kind of situation. But it's basically if you have no job and you're willing to relocate, because by the way, this community is going to be, guess what? It's going to be the best community. It's going to have the best schools, the best health care, the best transportation, and it's going to become a city of the future. This is why you also have it full of veterans, and it's always allowed. It's always, in a sense, there's always a house guaranteed to a veteran. And it's because the other idea is that the same medical care that the veteran can have access to is the same medical care that the politicians have access to. That only makes sense. Because you want your politicians to be fully healthy.
Sure.
You don't want them I wasn't in my right frame of mind. I wasn't feeling good, or I had the serious thing to take care of, but I had a headache. You don't want that from your politician. But you know what I'm saying. So, but you understand how this community would form.
I got
right?
you.
And I think how it would perpetuate itself.
This guy's dancing. He's this little short guy who's peeking under their dresses.
Yeah. This is just a hilarious song. But you understand what I'm getting at, right?
I get you.
That
I think I'd rather hear the song.
well, what do you think? Come on, you're Mr. Sociology, you know. And,
I think the capital ought to be moved to Colorado Springs.
All right, but why Colorado Springs? That's up in the mountains, and it's a more limited.
Because it has recreation, and I think they need some recreation, but also.
Well, it's Colorado Springs is within driving distance then of western Nebraska. Where is this? What is this community? What are they going to do for leisure? Well, they're going to drive to Colorado Springs.
They're going to go skiing.
Yeah, they're going to go skiing up in the mountains.
Right.
And there's that whole, the whole western
I think
seaboard.
there's something about that. That's within I think it's within sight of Pikes Peak.
Yeah.
There's something more inspiring about the site.
Yeah.
They put the Air Force College there for a reason, I think. It's kind of an inspiring site.